Friday evening, we spoke with 6 voters, evenly split between who they're going to vote for, from 4 of the 7 battleground states. And the conversation was a feisty one, with the participants veering frequently to former President Trump. One of the few things they all agreed on was that this election is critically important.
It is critical because of the state of our nation. There's so much going on, border security, infiltration by people that could cause extreme harm to our country, the economy, and the weakness of our current administration on the national stage.
What do you mean by infiltration?
Because of our open borders, I feel very strongly that there have been people coming in because nobody's being vetted, nobody's asking questions. And I think we are being infiltrated by people that could cause another 9/11, very honestly.
We see these numbers of illegals crossing the border, and we're not talking about Central and South America. We're seeing Haitians, we're seeing Chinese, we're seeing Central Africans. We're seeing Arab nation immigrants come across, or not immigrants, but illegal immigrants come across. So it looks like an invasion of some sort.
I think both parties recognize a broken immigration system. Yes. There is a concern about a terror threat, but you're talking about this as if it is a choice to allow for these risks. Why do you think that that is a choice versus a tough situation America finds itself in?
Because day one that current President Biden was elected, he immediately, by the stroke of a pen, undid everything that President Trump had done in closing the border. We had security at the border. We were vetting the people that wanted to come in. And with the stroke of a pen, day one, he opened the border. He opened the doors without any vetting process. So it was his choice. He has to take responsibility for that, he and his administration.
You do know that there is vetting that border officials do when they encounter someone. They do. I've been to the federal facilities. When someone is detained, when they are captured, when they cross illegally, they are taken into federal custody, and those agents do vet people. The success of that vetting may be in question, the efficacy of it, but they are. If someone sneaks in undetected, then they're definitely not vetted. And have you heard from either candidate like a specific vision on how to fix the issue you see with the border?
I've heard from Donald Trump that he wants to shoot people on when they cross. That's what I've heard.
I've not heard that at all.
So I'm saying.
Well, I do believe the border, it's a crisis. It truly is. But what is the solution? If we all can't get together and decide on a solution to the problem, how are we going to solve the problem?
Because I agree with that.
Jeremy, I see you raising your hand. You can jump in.
Well, 2 things, just to dispel a myth. If you look at statistically, the number of crimes committed in the United States, the highest, much higher number by native white citizens. That is a fact. The second thing is that the number of illegal crossings has remained roughly the same. I have driven past the border, Arizona, California, New Mexico, many times, and you can't drive, a mile or a mile and a half without seeing a border patrol vehicle agent. Mm-hmm. There are people there. They're doing their job.
How many of you plan to watch the presidential debate on Thursday? Raise your hand if you're going to watch. Do any of you feel like you could be persuaded by these candidates to vote for the other one? Like if Donald Trump says something really compelling, would you switch from Joe Biden or vice versa?
I would fall over if he said anything worth listening to.
Well, Trump already said he
it's
wanted
a-
to be a
yes,
dictator. That was enough for me. This is
Exactly.
Well, I don't think you can take any of their words literally anymore. It's mostly political theater and comedy.
Yeah.
So there's some entertainment value there to be had.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that,
think
that
at
is
this
indeed
point,
for sure.
So
No,
none of you,
Donald Trump means it when he says he wants to be a dictator. He means it.
I know he want revenge as well.
So if I can jump in here, it's a show. He is from New York. He is a showman. He may be a blowhard. He may say things, but in the end, he knows how good this country has been to him in making him a success. So the things that he says, we basically listen with one ear, goes in one ear, goes out the other, and you try to go through the weeds to find out what really is going on.
that's so interesting you say that you put aside what he says. Um,
Mhm.
do you have kids?
Yes. I have two sons who are in the Air Force.
It's sort of the opposite of how you parent, right? Like you probably don't tell
Yes.
your boys say whatever. You probably held them to account when they said something that they shouldn't have said. Why do you think you view this man who is going to be potentially commanding your sons into the battlefield to a different standard?
Well, I don't hold him to a different standard. I'm not saying I appreciate or even like the type of stuff that sometimes comes out of his mouth. His show, The Apprentice, again, he had to be a showman. So that does it make it right? No, I don't
Yeah.
agree with that at all. However, we've had 4 years with him. A lot of us liked, what he did for our country, but that doesn't mean we liked the things he said or how he sometimes acted.
A huge part of the reason why I'm for voting for Trump is economics and inflation.
So raise your hand if any of you feel that you are better off today than you were 4 years ago.
Probably the same.
Same.
You feel the same. I see you there with your hand up. Jeremy, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, one of the things that people often forget is that American consumer spending has been rising, even in relation to inflation. Wages have been soaring high along with it. Some say that might have caused part of the inflation problem. I raised my hand about being better off 4 years ago because my employer has given significant raises across the board to everyone. And I guess I don't buy the kinds of things with the inflationary prices. I mean, if I pay an extra 20 cents a pound for asparagus, I think I'll live. So it just depends on individual circumstances.
Yeah, because today, this economy, anybody that wants a job can get one. And that's a fact. Anybody that wants to work can get a job now.
Raise your hand if any of you think about, for example, the state of our democracy. Does that concern you? And is that a reason that you would, you are jumping right at it, Marlene. That I didn't even finish the sentence. What's going on?
Donald Trump does not want what's good for America. He does not want democracy. He wants to have everything his way. He wants to place people in power that will do whatever he says this time. If he wants so-and-so to be in the Justice Department because they're going to do whatever he says, then he's going to go after all of his political opponents, even if they haven't done anything wrong. He's going to have complete control, and that's what he wants.
So the same can be said about President Biden. He forced all the car manufacturers to convert to EVs, and now they did it because they had no choice. They were going to be penalized if they didn't, and now they're finally pushing back and saying no. There's no sales for these vehicles.
Lydia, do you think somebody's making you buy a car?
Yeah, I'm not buying an EV.
By 2030.
He made it.
I think the comment
He has made it mandatory.
Americans won't be required to drive electric vehicles. The car manufacturers, there was a goal set for the transition to happen, but Americans won't be required, and car manufacturers will still make combustion engines too. Does everyone here trust their state government to fairly and safely administer the upcoming presidential election?
I do.
Yeah.
So, Lydia, you believe the state of Georgia will administer your election fairly?
Well, there's been a lot of changes since the last election, so I
You
feel
don't think they
this-
did in 2020?
50-50. We'll leave it
And
at
I
that.
too am from Georgia, and I agree. The election is going to be correct in Georgia.
I just think that the concerning thing is that in most areas, the population is split almost so evenly that it really doesn't take a lot to tip the balance one way or the other. And I guess just here in the state of Wisconsin, I don't have 100% confidence that in Dane County, in Madison, or in Milwaukee, where it matters, where at 10 p.m. before you go to bed on election night, it looks like one thing, and then magically ballots are found overnight. It just doesn't give you that sense of confidence.
So, will all of you stand by the 2024 election results?
Yes.
Show of hands. And do all of you expect your preferred candidate to accept the 2024 election results? Tony, you were like, I don't know. Yeah, sure.
I can't speak for what someone's going to do. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, he pretty much already said he's not going to accept it if he loses.
Donald Trump, 78. Joe Biden, 81. Does anyone think that older age is an asset?
There's some benefit to wisdom, experience, but I think you got to question fitness, ability, cognitive ability. And this is not a criticism. I mean, age is what it is. You can't stop it. It can't be helped.
The Joe Biden we've got in the past 2 years, especially 2 years, has been a definite decline.
I've seen
Well-
a little
in
decline,
cognitive
but not like
function.
what you guys are saying. You're acting
Well-
like he's fumbling around on stage.
Okay, but
and
half
that's where
the
he
So
is.
you don't see the
Yes.
decline in Donald Trump, huh?
Half of the people in this group say that anything Donald Trump says, it's garbage. We don't want to listen to him, whatever. But we don't even get the opportunity to hear what Joe Biden says because he won't take questions. He walks away. You don't even get to interact. There's no transparency. There's no sense of, hey, here's what I think about this or why we're doing this. So what's worse? Something that you say isn't even worth listening to or not even being able to hear the message.
The full hour of our conversation can be seen on our website and our YouTube channel.